4th year with this magazine, 3rd as editor-in-chief, and 1st as a sentimental senior passing the baton, I'm filled with gratitude for what this publication has become. The 10th Muse has been an endless source of joy, creativity, and passion in my life. Volume 15, like all our previous volumes, showcases the incredible submissions we receive from talented writers and artists. What makes our literary magazine special is how it serves dual purposes, providing a learning space for Clark's exceptionally talented students while showcasing remarkable writers, artists, and designers. Our staff's mission has always been to honor each artist's intent while enhancing the magazine's overall presentation and energy. When approaching each layout, we see individual submissions not just as standalone works, but as components of a larger narrative. Volume 15 begins with a prologue, a precursor to a collection of letters, each connected through threads of meaning and association. Our epilogue reflects on storytelling's power to connect us with ourselves and to each other. As always, we hold our contributors in the highest regard, every design aspect intentionally chosen to visually bring their work to life within the pages of the magazine, their magazine. I hope you, our readers and contributors, cherish these stories as deeply as we do. Enjoy the journey, follow the thread. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the night.
We will first hear from Chrissy Bartles.
Good evening. I'll be reading Bury Me by the Sea by Nicole Hurt. When I was 12 years old, I buried my mother by the sea. The sand scratched my hands, coarse and black, unlike the white powder that they advertise in Hawaiian postcards. We had no shovel, so I used the small plastic one I used to play with when I was a child. It took me hours to dig the hole, but it had to be 6 feet deep. That's how deep they buried my father in the cemetery. When the hole's darkness swallowed the light of the moon, I pushed my mother in, blood soaked into sand. I grabbed the plastic shovel once more and began scooping the sand back in. It was easier to cover her than it was to dig. I smoothed the sand over with the shovel and stood, admiring my work. It blended into the vast expanse of the beach. A sea breeze whisked sand across my hands, which were sticky with blood. I gazed at the ocean shining under the moon. Its pale light twisted the purple bruises on my arm to black. My feet carried me into the sea until the water rushed past my knees. It was cold, and I bent down to submerge my hands. As I scrubbed, I sang the happy birthday song softly. The waves frothed around me. When I finished the song, I lifted my hands up to the moonlight. They were free from blood and sand. Now clean, I walked to the house and didn't look back. As the years passed, I couldn't stop myself from visiting the spot. I wasn't worried about the police or neighbors finding her. I had buried her by the beach grass, and my teacher had explicitly stated it was protected by the state. All the precautions were pointless, really. No one wanted to go near the grass. Families preferred the open sand by the cool waves. I often watched these families as I sat above the corpse of my mother. I watched them as the sun traversed the sky and slipped below the horizon. Even when they had all gone home and the wind chilled my bones, I watched. On one of those nights, when I was 16, a dog pattered up to me. I recognized it as the dog from a family I saw earlier. It was large and white-furred and snuffled me with its wet black nose. I had always wanted a dog, but my mother hated animals. My fingers ran through its soft fur. The dog eventually turned away in disinterest. It sniffed the sand next to me, then it sneezed and began to dig. From my biology class, I knew my mother had rotted away to bones by now. I knew the dog would bring one back. 10 years have passed since I buried my mother, and 6 since I buried the dog. I have stopped frequenting the beach so much now. I'm busy, too. I have a boyfriend, and I'm about to finish school. Each year, my mother feels more like the pile of bones she is than the one whose breaths haunted me. There is no point in visiting dust. Yet still I wonder who will bury me by her.
Next, we'll hear from Melissa Vanderheiden.
Hello. The first poem I'll be reading for you tonight is called Nancy Drew in Bellevue by Kimberly Madura. She searched high and low with the keenest sleuthing skills, devoured every clue to this game of life. Alas, what she discovered was this world no longer made any sense. Madam Mystery now sits in Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital eating cherry pie and drinking coffee black, watching the dewdrops fall against the window pane. However, she will reply to letters if you write, care of Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital, room 123. Return postage is still required. Next, I'll read the poem entitled The Stories I Cherish by Tyler Newhouse. I cherish all the stories I've read and gather them into my great book and hold it tight against my chest that I may not lose a single page to life's chaotic whirlwind. In times of distress and violence, I open my great book of stories, and the glowing pages transform my world so that I have a little light amidst the rolling blankets of darkness.
David Harris will read next.
Okay. Some of you may not recall the name of the mother of King Arthur, and that is Igraine, and it comes up in this poem. Romulus Augustulus. He never really wanted to to be emperor, but his father was ambitious, pulled the strings, and led the coup. 15 and head of an empire that had ruled the world for half a millennium, or so it claimed, and his father claimed. 10 months later, his father dead, Romulus retired from public life and from history, unloved by his former people, unmissed by them, exiled to the old home of Lucullus. Perhaps he ate well there, perhaps not. What does a young emperor do? What ambitions, what dreams? After the brief glory, perhaps he read the years away, learning the lives of his illustrious predecessors, or took up art, or music, or depravity. In one story, he went to Cornwall and sired a son on fair Igraine. Lovely but untrue, at least unlikely. His death unremarked, his legacy nothing but a name and a place at the end of a long list. And another poem about events in the Roman Empire. The Truth and the Salvation. The Rebbe warned me what would happen, what the others would say about me, how they'd cast me out of their brotherhood, his brotherhood, for heeding his command. Why me? Have I deserved this exile, or is the word earned? He handed me our silver, the trust of our meager fisc. I, the dagger man, Sicarius, was treasurer to the teacher of peace. I could have shown Peter, that putz, how to handle a sword, if he'd asked, if swords had been part of our job. But now he's the rock, the saint, and I roam the empire while they twist the Rebbe's teachings. Sometimes I think I might go after that Saul, slip a blade between his vertebrae. But that was not my assignment. Collect the silver coins, bring the men, and kiss my master goodbye. I wept to do his will. I was the strong one, trustworthy. Without me, there is no trial, no death, no resurrection.
Next, we will hear from Will Regger.
Did you say my name? Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is a poem called Got No Time, a found rock and roll song. It's about time I go it alone, he said, as the storm shook the trees and the song I was hearing burned on. I can't wait until I feel good about this before I hear the highway will sing for me. I hear that old road breathing every night now, and I know I can't live much longer. The world moves, you know. It moves in every direction, and I mean to be right there with it. So we have no time to consider all our choices and which right and which wrong. The we of us can't bear that weight. Maybe we'll get lucky as we did when you found me or I you. But then remember how we had no time to think about what we did when we did it. And the second one that I will read is called The Stray. The Stray, not fierce, barely erect in the hot, dusty breeze, panting full-tongued on the edge of the sky, where the sun shivers the air over him and heats his fur, bends the air over where he squats. He is free to run loose, find some shade and flee the sun, seek water and relief. He has no duties, nothing to fetch or guard or attack, no reason to exist except that he is the sixth in a litter, had a bitch mother, a feral father, and was taught and watched out for in the way of his kind, how to run, hide, hunt, growl, attack, or cower in the heat, or beg, recognize a friendly voice, though no one bears this glaring sun with him. Men and dogs go by without stopping to him to seek him out or hear his complaints. All pass by where he squats in the full sun, waiting to be dried out, desiccated at last, beyond the reach of mercy, beyond possession or ownership, beyond command or obedience, beyond any friendship with man, beyond the hunt for little lives to gobble down, beyond any reason to sit or stay or be any longer. Thank you.
We will hear from Laura Ruley next.
I don't know if you heard any of that. Okay.
Hello, I will be reading When the Bell Tolled by Michael Shepley. It was a summer, somewhere where the dry grass in the slight, not cooling breeze still whispers in the fluid demotic Latin, and the vulgar gossip of grasshoppers peppers the pale, baking yellow fields under brick oven Sunday. So we stayed, in water in the pool in the repurposed villa, in the shade of old olives, sipping the golden, glinting wine from sweating crystal all the day long. But one evening, out of nowhere, just at sunset, we get to hear the bell calling from atop the ragged rock cragged ochre hill. We climbed then the snaking, steep, ancient stone path, sometimes with steps up to the bone-white church, crumbled wall ruined, and by the time eating air in the hammock hunks, we got there, its inside behind the missing doors was tomb dark and silent, no mass or choir of faithful vespers. We hurried back down in sweat to not miss dinner's first plate and met a man walking a fat, roomy-eyed dog, who could speak our own language and asked why we were there. And we told him about how the bell tolled, and he laughed and then said the bell had been stolen by Napoleon 2 centuries ago.
Next, we will hear from Abby Pierce.
Hello. I will be reading an excerpt from The Sand Octopus by Lois Besson. To preface, Re is universal energy outside all living things, this highest spiritual consciousness, God's energy. Ray energy has a frequency of 7,200 CPS, cycles per second, or above. Bird felt Marjorie trembling against him. Her aura was the palest green. How easily she was given to episodes of overwhelmed intensity. She could concentrate herself into another time and place so completely that she would speak in whatever foreign language she was researching. She often reacted to awakening from a dream as if kidnapped like Oliver Twist. Now she twisted against Bird's embrace. Just for today, just for today. Bird chanted the mantra and moved his right hand clockwise against her back, behind her pounding heart. He felt tenora, his palms transferring G, healing energy. He breathed in light and breathed it out, anahata, into Marjorie's fourth chakra. The sculptor put finishing touches on the octopus. A wave splashed the artist, and this time the cold water made him shiver and run up the beach. Close to Bird and the others, the black couple had taken out their cell phones and were about to take and send photos. Stop, the sculptor barked. No. Marjorie's eyes filled. She moved beyond Bird's calming touch, shaking her head at the thorns. No, she echoed, more gently, reassuring the chagrined couple. After they left Point Lookout, they drove to Long Beach and walked on the boardwalk. There were young Jewish mothers with strollers, 1 or 2 retirees on bicycles, and some blank-eyed elderly lined up in sweaters and jackets behind glass in the King David Old Age Home. In 1914, Marjorie said, "Elephants from Coney Island's dreamland were brought here to help haul pilings to build the boardwalk, but it was a publicity stunt by a man named Reynolds, the Donald Trump of the time. Verne and Irene Castle, you know the Astaire Rogers movie, opened a nightclub."
This next piece will be read by myself, and it's entitled It's an Old Blues for a New Day by John Gray. The voice is raspy, guitars more wood than string. Piano hisses in between notes. Drums sound like someone thumping on a crate. Horns fade in and out. Everyone on the disc is black and dead, but it sounds more seminal than graveyard. Women selling heat or joy or pain or God. Big speakers crackled with a soul on shellac. The present's cold. It's formulaic. It's computers. My feet need tapping. My heart needs bursting. So permit me the past if the past's not using it. And the next piece will be read by Steve Bellamy.
Sorry. So I'm going to be a little sort of nerdy English professor here. I'm reading a poem called Melville, and Melville just happens to be my favorite author, and I thought maybe I could sort of say just a couple quick things. I promise I won't take 10 minutes to explain this. That might help you understand the poem a little bit better. When the poet references Redburn at the beginning, that was Melville's 4th novel that he wrote, 2 novels before he wrote Moby Dick, which is a novel that this poet references. At the end of his life, Melville wrote a novella called Billy Budd, and that was left unfinished when he died in 1891. Melville, after Moby Dick, sort of fell out of favor and was sort of cast aside as kind of a lunatic and fell out of fashion until the 1920s, and then I'll stop. Okay. But anyway, here we go. I thought it might be helpful. Writing Scrimshaw tales during the Redburn years, outward journeys, but you knew the search was always within. It is not down on any map, true places never are. In Moby Dick, with undercurrents of symbols to be discovered, you said we should be like roaring Niagaras, lionized. You continued writing about truth and the illusions that cover it, and about the battle between good and evil, leaving the public puzzled and you alienated in your unrecognized genius, too serious and profound to be popular. They said at the time, but in Billy Budd, though unfinished, you finally got your revenge.
We'll hear from Michael Pecky next.
Something wrong with the microphone. It's a little awkward. Paul, can you give me a hand? What did you do? Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael, and I'll be reading a piece, some excerpts from the piece Fortress, written by the Honorable Rob Luke. This is John chapter 2, verses 19 through 20. Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." They replied, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you are going to raise it in 3 days?" Mike emerged as my first best friend. We jumped in mud puddles, stuck playing cards in our bicycle spokes, and explored through his omniscient imagination. Jokers cast like evil curses, his horror stories on a sun-baked deck, siesta time delivered like raw meat. As ice melted in our cherry Kool-Aid, his thrills chilled me. After a summer day died inside, he turned off the lights, then plunked the theme from Jaws, the killer shark movie, on his family piano, raising the flesh on my arms and neck. He told more scary stories, his original tales imbued with startling dread from a precocious wonder. This is now the last section. The force of disbelief can flatten things that aren't meant to stand, no matter how well constructed the fortress is built. Not when a jagged-edged world lies beyond even the most protective of a fort's screen of confession. A world where real stories are scarier than made-up ones. No more Mike's make-believe. A lifetime later, God help us to find shelter from his rain and sulfur and fire. The destruction to Sodom and Gomorrah. Without the New Testament of forgiveness, there exists only provoked wrath. Let Mike and I, former best friends, reclaim the indulgences of our storied worship. Renew our faith for a rugged cross as a house built on the rock, the foundation of believers. Deliver the epistle, a post-dated account, to Mike, who as the 10th Muse blessed my imagination for apprenticeship of creative art. Mike's macabre parables inspired me to read and write. I hope that we can soon sift through the wreckage of our fallen fortress together, for the stories are meaningless unless there is someone to tell them to. Mike once knew this refuge in God. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. Thank you.
We'll hear from Kate Cadleck next.
My first piece is called Watching the Wiener Dog Races on page 37. Big Rhonda, the dachshund, refuses to budge, and I love her for that. Her small sausage body lazes in the grass while I sip my Oktoberfest wine, sample its sweetness and spice on my tongue. The crowds mill about like clouds drifting by, and I, too, wish to lounge on the lawn and apologize to no one. I, too, want to ruin a race with all my heart. My next poem is called A Few Favorites on page 44. I like the way ranunculus look like crumpled Kleenex, only prettier. I also like how southern live oaks drip with leafy jewels. What if I told you I planned a trip to Savannah with the sole purpose of witnessing those trees? I like the way squirrels tend to scamper up trunks like they have somewhere to be, like they're running late to their very important squirrel meeting. I like the softness of peaches, their sunset-colored skin. I like rain. I like dogs with human names. I like humans who let their battered hearts adorn their bodies like brooches. I like secrets. I like keeping them just between us. And my last poem is called Softening on page 61. This isn't the last poem I will write about dementia. Its gray face, its spindly fingers, the way it eats up the whole eggplant sky. When the brain withers, does the heart stay intact? I think it must. I remember the way my grandma used to cradle her stuffed dog, how she'd coo into its fur, her gibberish as sacred as a prayer. Thank you.
We'll hear next from Maria Paulino.
Hello, I am going to be reading Seeing Eye to Eye by Rosemary on page 42. I was 4. He was legless. He perched in a wheeled wood square box, a tin can of sharpened pencils between us in front of my father's store. His eyes were empty, mine curious. An adult at my level. Mom said nothing. He said nothing. Selling pencils to keep it legal. A beggar. He was either there or Broadway or he didn't exist. I don't believe he was satisfied, dignified. He wore blue, so did I, my favorite color. I see him, decades later, now in photos of homeless, veterans in distress, unwanted women abused. I cared, but I didn't need pencils. I wanted to help. He needed legs. I had only my own, none extra. I didn't know how to help. That is what I've learned beyond physics, fractals, fiction writing, music, and calligraphy. I help because we're all the same soul height.
We'll hear next from Sunshine Dur.
Hi guys, my name's Katie. This is an original I wrote called Mind Cloudy. Mind cloudy, thoughts withdrawn, appearance drowsy, another pawn. Feeling fractured, never whole, semi-captured by what they stole. Having impurities, knowing, deepening, peaking insecurities. Am I worth keeping? Counteractive thoughts placed inside my head, against what I've been taught when raped in my bed. Unworthy and broken, am I alone? Was once golden, but now I atone. Thank you.
I apologize. We just heard from Katie Kelly. Now we'll hear from Sunshine.
Can I just take this off?
The first poem I'm reading is called Enchanted Hunters. It's on page 45. You're right. I'm reading them backwards. Okay. Yeah, page 51. Thanks. I am not Lolita. Lolita is haunting me. She's wiggling, writhing, sprawled out naked across all of my mind, all that is left, hot red little horns poking out, teasing. Is this really my true self? Parading my flesh in the most wanton abandon like a frothing animal? Lolita is my silhouette, a trickling, deceiving, lying shadow, hot wax hardening like baby's first charm bracelet around my ankle, enchanted hunters. I can never rid her of my hair or my shiny, silky, frosty dress like my little sorrow. I wipe my hands. I carry you with me forever like little bits of garden. You gave me everything, a pearly white convertible, red leather upholstery, a mockery of my lips and of my skin, the stuff of dreams. Waking up from the pain, wrist to bedpost, metal on metal, these handcuffs connect us like an umbilical cord. Her father's saint, my Siamese twin. I've come to kill your daughter, my killing wish. I've come to make sure she'll never look at me again. Yeah, I guess I'm going backwards here, but the next poem is Virgin Suicides on page 48. This must be the way that Lux Lisbon felt when he left her on the football field in the blue hour of the morning. He loved her more than anyone else. He would love her his entire life, and he left her there. He didn't care how she got home. Picking up her shoes and carrying her plastic crown, a queen for a night in her dress of flowers, the same as her sister's, his name on her underwear, still damp from the wet grass and the white paint on the taxi ride home, staring out the window. A face that would look down on him from the fish flies for eternity. She would never leave the house again. His hair still parted by her invisible hand. He lived to be an old man, but her age remained the same. The sun was coming through, living longer than she could have ever dreamed, dragon's heads and blonde. Waiting for her sisters, a light in the bedroom, picking glittering stickers stuck on golden passages, bubblegum angels and rainbows for Judy, hearts with wings and light blue stars. Crushing crystal castles and pastel waters between her fingers. He loved her and he left her there, still bleeding between the legs. This last poem is called Strangers. They said, I think 14 is a little too young. He was sitting next to me. He said, why don't you let down your hair and show them you belong to me? If I said what you wanted me to say, my power would be lost. What this flesh has done to me, and still around your neck I'm locked. Grabbing me by the warmest part of me, my very last pearl, laying on the floor of your apartment. I think this love has lost its glamour. My toes always painted red for you with shackles on my feet. I can be your mirror. I like it like this. I trusted you with all of this, up my dress and up my skirt. I tell you that it's all yours. The sea of violets in the graveyard, the lily in my heart, crushed beneath your feet, me and all of my bleeding heart.
Now we'll hear from Mimi Atavi.
Hello. I will be reading a poem called Walking My Dog at the End of the World on page 65. As the wind and rain wash my windows, I exist half awake and watch in awe as the end of the world appears in technicolor behind my eyelids. I did not wear my jacket today. No mittens or gloves, and yet no red-bitten noses or ruddy cheeks. Mid-December, and I am suffocating under early July humidity. Layer after layer I strip, a reptile shedding its skin. Is this the next stage in evolution? Will I wake tomorrow with gills, yellow eyes, pour a bowl of maggots and flies instead of cornflakes for breakfast in the morning? My hope and patience wear thin as I walk my dog, listening to hordes of crows caw, caw, caw to each other in the trees, chatting like old friends. They are planning their next meal, I think, and my dog bobs his head in agreement. We are roadkill, their Thanksgiving feast. We are Christmas dinner, Fat Tuesday, hot dog eating contest. Are you excited, I call back? Do I look delicious? The wind and birds fall silent. The food is not supposed to reply. I return to my home as the sky turns green, then blue, then black. My heart takes off, a scared rabbit in my chest, and I shake with a manic kind of elation and fear. The time has come, and I am anything but ready. Goodbye, I scream to the void. My dog has turned to dust beside me, back to the dirt from whence he came. I'm sorry, I gasp, quieter, as the reality sinks into my bones, an ache like no other. The earth does not care for my apology. Embittered, the earth does not care at all. She swallows me whole, and we die unforgiven. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Bree Naila.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Bree Naila. I liked how Steve Bellamy did a little introduction to his poem, and I kind of would like to do the same. This poem is called Jackson's Absence. It is in memory of a friend that used to be in our community, and he would always welcome you with open arms and kind eyes, any time of the day, any day of the week, any time of the year. Those boots were made for walking, and honey, you did more than just that. I don't know what them boots have seen, but we all caught glimpses of the pain they carried. White as pure as your soul, scuff marks that showed you did so much more than walking. I can't remember the last time I saw you, yet I still expect to see those white boots dancing as you guard and share good spirits. The spirits are still there, and I hope you are too. The last call, the last straw, the last of your will to walk, to live. Maybe I'll see those same scuffed boots again when your boy is a man, proudly walking in the boots that carried you. They weren't meant to carry grief, but I'm sure they felt it too. No buckles, no laces, no sleeves, just traces of where your boots have been, and possibly where he'll take them. In memory of Jackson Daniel. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Eric Wold.
The first work I'm going to read is from Lynn White, Things They Say. They used to say that infections were caused by miasma, that bad air breathed in led to cholera and plague. It wasn't true, and they don't say it anymore. They used to say that goldfish had no memory, but the ones in my pond still hid from me, in loving memory of their friends disappeared from the overcrowded pond many months ago. They seem to blame me, and they are right. They were rehomed without consent. Now science has caught up and is celebrating their memory. They say a lot of things that aren't true. As knowledge moves on with science, even goldfish know better than to believe the things they say. Lastly, Tara Miller's Oofda on a Train. Whirling wheels create blurring movies through windows of filthy glass, projecting images of fleeting conifers with roots clinging to steel tracks. Glass-still Minnesotan lakes reflect clouds with holding sleet and black ice to unleash upon an unexpected and experienced audience. Screech! Oofda echoes. Throughout every car, as white-tailed rumps waddle inside of the engine, awaiting the patience of passengers in vain.
We'll hear from Jess Stewart Wagner next.
Hello again. I hope you've enjoyed what everyone has shared this far. I know I have. Now I'd like to cap off the readings with a poem and a short excerpt from the end of the volume, beginning on page 80 with National Challenge to Improve. How easy it was to stand by and say nothing. The last few stripped of their rights. Strange, almost paranoid way we sometimes behave. He took a box, put it in a darker corner, and sat on it. They were right to be afraid. The tired young eyes, the blank faces, the gray skin, the survival of human dignity under impossible conditions. Pictures and information they gathered became weapons. Some have confronted the life around them and shared the truths they saw with cheery optimism, reminding us of our common humanity. Lastly, I would like to read a short excerpt from The Emotive Power of Storytelling, beginning on page 87, at the last paragraph. I thought it was interesting how an essay I wrote about Stephen King's The Body aligned so perfectly with the intentions of the 10th Muse, where you could easily replace the title of The Body with the title of the 10th Muse, so that's what I've done. Through the manifestation of the 10th Muse, authors both in and out of the novel are able to revisit and remember distant memories, revealing the profound value of storytelling in new and meaningful ways. By drawing on personal experiences, storytelling evokes deep emotional responses and sparks reflection, whether it be the stories we tell ourselves, record in journals, or share with others. Narratives provide a lens to gain perspective and foster a better understanding of complex emotions. The 10th Muse weaves together tales of heartfelt experiences and nostalgic memories, illustrating the diverse and multifaceted effects of storytelling. Despite an accumulation of challenges, storytelling provides a means to cope with trauma and provides tools to further understand the past. Now that we've wrapped up the readings, one of our advisors, Steve Bellamy, would like to say a few words. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for coming. I think we should give a round of applause to the staff for Volume 15. If you're on the staff, stand up. Come on. Well done. The volume is, again, really stunning. When Jess came by my office earlier today and showed me, I was just, as always, so impressed. And I don't know, something about the sort of layout this year really sort of struck me. Jess started with her remarks that, she's kind of at this, what did you say, sentimental senior moment of kind of passing the baton. And the 10th Muse now is in its 15th volume, and Eric and I have been sort of at the, in the kind of role of faculty, what's the word, supervisors, if you will. I'm not crazy about that word, but whatever. Since 2020, and the magazine, under Eric's leadership, I think, in graphic design expertise, has really sort of blossomed here. It just builds on that tradition that the magazine had, starting, 10 years before we started working with it. They're great volumes. It's such a legacy. It really is. 15 years is, something to really be proud of. So, that's really great. Good job. If you are interested in sort of continuing that legacy and sort of being the one as students to sort of pass the baton or carry the mantle, however we want to say it, this magazine is actually derived out of a course sequence at Clark. DMS 213 is Literary Magazine Management, which is offered in the fall, and DMS 214 is Editing and Production, which is offered in the spring. So if you or any of your colleagues, friends are interested in continuing on the legacy of the 10th Muse, then I would encourage you to talk to your advisors or reach out to myself or reach out to Eric as a way to kind of keep the magazine moving in the direction that it's moving. I think it's a really sort of special part of the culture here at Clark University. So thanks again. Wonderful job, as always. Thank you all for coming. Feel free to stick around, chat with the authors, the readers, the staff, ourselves, whomever, each other, and have a great evening, and thank you again.